Hello. There's been this collective feeling washing over me for quite a bit. It actually was most potent a few days ago, but I still feel it, and for some reason I did not record about it then, but I'm feeling the pull to speak about it now. And it's like this feeling of hypersensitivity in terms of some examples that are coming up, like when you first get a bruise and it's so tender to the touch, or if you have a migraine and then right after the migraine you can still feel like it's gone, but you still feel so sensitive in your crown and your head. I kept getting an image, which I've gotten quite a bit recently, of when a hermit crab changes its shell and it leaves one shell and runs to a bigger one, but it's so exposed. So there could be something about also feeling vulnerable, and there's something when we have these moments of being reborn, these really hypersensitive moments. It's almost like parts of yourself that were maybe a little bit more hardened before, by the shell, metaphorically. When you start to release those and you're stepping into, and you're kind of in that in-between. You may feel like you're in a liminal space in between timelines, however you word it. And there's this an exposed nerve. If you've ever heard someone or experienced a nerve that's exposed, it's so sensitive to the atmosphere, the air, to the elements, So yeah, you could be feeling just exposed. But in those moments, sometimes when we don't even have the bandwidth to, you're just so sensitive, it's I've kind of realized that there can be these experiences where when you're feeling that way, you may even be more truthful than usual, because you don't even have what's the word I'm looking for? There's a specific word, 12:21 on the clock, where the shielding that you had before, it's when you're just feeling vulnerable, you're just I need this. Your needs are more easily expressed because it's that boundary is, maybe not boundary is not the right word. It's more something being hidden or protecting yourself is not really there anymore. So you're just you don't have time to be is this what I should ask for? You're just when you're sick and you're just I need this to make me feel better, It's that's the energy I'm getting. So some of you could be purging some things out, or you just purged something out. That's what it feels like. You purged something out and now you're in that in-between space of before you're completely ready to step out in this new space, in this new octave. And yeah, so you might feel you need a little bit more. I just heard the no pants dance. Maybe right now you just don't even want to wear pants. Bright light is too much. Maybe you just need some shut out from the world. And so if this is you, I just wanted to say that I see you, and I've just gone through this myself. And this morning I did sometimes I like to listen to some guided hypnosis or meditation, different things every once in a while. And this morning, the one that I chose was a sacral cleansing with a golden light, golden light and golden light beings from, I think she just changed the name of her channel. Yoga Tranquility Wellness. Casey Goldstruck-Gergini is her name. But yeah, I think she changed it to Hypnosis Tranquility Wellness or something like that. Anyway, I don't know, there's just something about her voice that really responds well. I respond well to her voice and the energy she brings through. And then I had this dream, and it felt like a collective dream. I'm not going to go into the details, actually. Sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. The details don't actually feel super necessary at the moment. But the fact that as I was like listening to her and receiving, I kept kind of like setting the intention. The sacral is like ruled by water and like the waters of the body. So I was really like imagining the waters of the collectives that I feel connected to on the earth, myself, and what came through I remembered the astral experience when I woke up of like feeling collectively like there were old expectations and boundaries that were coming to the surface. And actually one of them was feeling like when you are allowing yourself to just be and not be like maybe perfect in that moment of like being, it came out in the dream as like being tidy and organized, but allowing yourself to like in the dream when this happened, I wasn't wearing pants. And when I say I, like the collective of us, and I was like cat sitting for someone, and they weren't supposed to be back for 2 days. And they came back unannounced early and just walked in, and I was like, and I apologized to them. And I was like, wait a second, I have nothing to be sorry for. Like, I did everything I was supposed to do. So there's something about that, like, releasing these old, I guess we can call it programming of expectations, of like apologizing for something that you didn't even have like an expectation for. This can manifest in so many different ways, but yeah, so it feels like this collective sacral, of course, cleansing, which, as I mentioned, inventory of like boundaries, how we take care of ourselves, expectations, etc. So, also, I kept seeing references to the violet flame. So some of you could feel like you are connecting or working with Saint Germain, the violet flame, that archetype and spectrum frequency. It's interesting because if some of you have been working with that energy for a long time, well, it could really be for any of you, but there's something about like the spectrum. So you can, like when you go to a paint store and you're like, okay, I want violet or purple. And then they give you like 18,000 choices of which shade. So it feels like there's a nuance to working with these like color waves. And some of you may be like starting and or deepening your connection to that. And I was just reminded, the planet Uranus, which I believe is ruled by the Fool in Tarot, you could be seeing zeros, the 0 point, new beginnings, and that's what I was talking about, this like hypersensitivity, vulnerable state leading into this 0 point, right? It's like all the potential. I just heard the phrase like pool of potential. It's like you're a walking, waking pool of potential. Now I just started to feel like pain in my ribs, especially on the left side, the yin, the feminine energy principle. And for me, the ribs generally denote like empathic absorption. So wringing out the ribs, if you will, emotionally, physically. Yeah, like I was saying before, like releasing expectations feels like a really big one for this collective. So, and I was just shown 916 on the timer. And for me, that was the address of the house that I grew up in from like age 9 or 10 to like 17. So there could be something from that time frame that's coming up now. Pattern recognition. And I actually just released another triadic transmission, is what I call these transmissions that come out in threes, the triadic. YouTube, Patreon, and Substack. And this one is Clear Cartography, Clear Mapping, which is like a meta framework that's been coming through my channel for years. That's like continuing to unfold itself, and it's a lot about connecting dots and pattern recognition and integrated divination. So if that calls to you, I just released that on YouTube. The thumbnail literally says Clear Cartography on it. So, and also on Patreon, I actually for the Patreon overflow, it's like a live I did like a YouTube live where I pulled through with encoded intentions to like allow for the person receiving any Auric key codes, retrieving any Auric key codes, and basically like allowing for any dormant codes within them to be reignited. So if that calls to you also. Yeah, just some things that have been coming through, and the written essence that I released on Substack is almost finished editing, so I will probably release that this week, maybe today. Yeah, just some tools that may support this experience that you're going through. Yeah. Ooh, and something else that's been coming through. I just heard a bang when I said that from outside of the door. The part of fortune in astrology has been coming through like quite strongly the last week or so. Excuse me. Ooh, the part of fortune, speaking of release, or pars fortuna, is a mathematical point in your birth chart rather than a physical planet or asteroid, and it represents where your mind, body, and spirit align, highlighting the specific areas of life where you can effortlessly find flow, material success, and fulfillment. So if you're not familiar with the glyph, it's 12:12 on the timer. Also 12:31 on the clock. I have multiple like clocks and timers in front of me. Isn't that New Year's Eve? Right? There's something about that energy, like New Year's Eve, about to like ring in, at least in the Gregorian calendar, like ring in the new year. I'm recording this in July or June of 2026, so metaphorically speaking, but you know, there's something also about this past, like we're exiting spring, which a lot of people who tune into like the lunar calendar, when you have a new year that's actually starting in the spring and not January. So there's something about that energy coming through. And back to the glyph of the part of fortune, it's like an X with a circle around it, if you're not familiar. And yeah, if you're like, oh, I don't know what that is for me, you know, you can look up your own chart and pop in a quick Google search if you want, if you aren't getting like a professional reading yet. Yeah, I do offer one-to-one with astrology too. I haven't done that in a while actually, but yeah, so that's, I get so excited. I don't know why I love the part of fortune. I think it's so fun. But anyway, so you just pop that in and you can look up, you know, part of, like for me, for example, part of fortune is in my 12th house in Sagittarius. So you can just type in, if you have part of fortune in your 4th house in Aquarius, let's say, boom, 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 plug it in and see what it says. If some of you are already like really tuned into this part of your chart, there could be like, I'm hearing the word conjunction, maybe a conjunction. It's conjuncting something, or a transit that could be important for you to pay attention to. Some of you may just like with astrology now at this point, like I usually am like shown things in meditation or my dream state, or I just channel it. And then sometimes I used to check it more, and now I just, that's like part of what I talk about clear cartography, when you integrate divination. Like there's something where you're tuned in straight into the current and you receive So some of you may be in that process and you're like still checking and confirming for yourself, and it might be really exciting. Actually, 1, 2, 3, 4 on the clock. Yeah. There's no right or wrong with any of this, of course. Just all at different places and spaces. Some of us may be overlapping in our places and spaces, and that's why I love building community like this, because then we get to like discuss. And yeah. Okay, so anyway, I'm using myself as an example, part of fortune. For me, it being in the 12th house, you know, the house of like the hidden, or the unseen. And there's something like, even if you're natal, there's something about like where you're at right now and then the natal placement of this part of fortune. Some of you may just be in a space, like a transit in your own life, where things just feel hidden from you, even if your natal part of fortune is not in the 12th house. Like there's still that collective energy I'm getting of like things may feel just still in the unknown. But like the Wheel of Fortune, 10, maybe seeing 10, 10, or repeating 10s, 1s and 0s. And I just released yesterday in the Clear Cartography integrated blueprint, art of integrated blueprint integration on YouTube. I was speaking about quantum computing and how like in binary code, you know, 0s and 1s are the operating system. And then in quantum computing, there's like qubits, and it operates like, it could be the 0, it could be the 1, or it could be the 0 and 1 together. There's this like expansive operating system within us that is coming online, and or for some of us it's been online and you're getting an expansion with that. And yeah, so there's like this rearrangement, and something I've been speaking a lot about is like the auric field becoming more crystalline and self-organizing. Yeah, I go a little bit more into that in that reading, but I did just want to touch a little bit more on the part of fortune because, oh, excuse me, I just heard Leo for someone. There could be like an important Leo placement, and or if it's not in your actual chart, there's something about embodying some of the archetype of the Leo energy. Of course, there's like shadow and light aspects to this, but collectively, there's something about like the Strength card in tarot now that's coming through. You know, the courage, the cowardly lion in the Wizard of Oz. Yeah. Some of you may be like surprising yourselves, like maybe you're about to do something, or you just did something that you didn't think would happen, and you're like, whoa, I really surprised myself there. Like in a good way though. It feels good. But yeah, speaking of that sacral cleanse, there could be like memories coming up maybe of ways that, like versions of you that wouldn't have done that, and so you're kind of just like allowing that to come up and witness it as just part of your experiential living, you know. Yeah. I have written down, even if people deviate from their truth, that doesn't mean every creation is tainted. And I wrote that recently because I was feeling like, this is like quite specific, but like when someone creates, like a human creates something and then puts it out into the world, it's like sometimes these certain creations, even if they're amazing, can get tainted if that person then maybe deviates from that version of themselves in some way. Oh, excuse me. Yeah. And this example comes up, like I still reference the Ascension Glossary a lot from Lisa Renee because it just, I'm very drawn to it for many different reasons, which I've explained in other things. But I've had comments from people like, oh, haven't you heard, like, you shouldn't tap into her work, blah, blah, blah. But, and I get it. Like, I'm not trying to like say when people make these, or like when an author gets canceled, like it's a very vulnerable time right now for like creation, because you know, the internet and people's like personal lives being exposed. And that's on one hand, I think, very important, you know, to like know the fullness of someone, but also like on the other hand, like I said here, what I just read before, I do feel like there's still something about honoring creation and creative expression from all the forms, you know? Oh, okay, there's another thing that came up. I had a dream a few weeks ago, and I felt like collectively, speaking of a sacral release, it was this dream of someone where it was like a whirlwind sort of. It was a romantic situation. Take it how it fits for you. It doesn't necessarily have to be romantic. It can just be that whirlwind sort of feeling, like something that feels maybe a little bit taboo, or something that feels like takes you really out of your center, but doesn't really ever ground you back in. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes we can have like extreme passion, but if we don't ground it, then it, you know, it eventually may burn out or get out of control. So it was like that kind of thing. And for me, it was someone who, when I was younger, I thought I had this like, you know, whirlwind, oh my gosh thing. But then eventually I realized, no. Anyway, so I had a dream that I reconnected with this person, and it was funny because it was like the same pattern, and I recognized the pattern almost immediately, and I was like, you know what? I'm done with this. No, thank you. So there could be stuff like this happening where, again, even if it's not romantic, it could be like a group of friends or just like a way of, like your relationship to a substance, like whatever it is, like when you get in this whirlwind sort of like feet off the ground and they never come back down, and you realize that pattern, there's something like that being realized collectively. Also, the word miracle was coming up. I kept hearing it multiple times a day recently. Miracle, miracle. And sometimes I like to look up the etymology of something. And the word miracle traces its roots to the Latin word miraculum. I don't know why that reminds me of like, you know, spells. Like, I didn't really watch Harry Potter that much, but I know people love Harry Potter and relate to that. But it's like, yeah, there's something about that. Meaning, quote, object of wonder, or, quote, marvel. And the word witness is coming through. So there's something about like embodying that, being the object of wonder or a marvel. Like embodying miracle or miraculum. I like that. Yeah. But I think one more thing. Especially when I was getting that, you know, feeling of vulnerability and like being exposed. Like I was started off speaking in this transmission. And like the pool of potential. There's something about like the room that you've just created is leaving room for surprises. Adaptability has also been coming through really strongly, like the ability to adapt. And I talked about that recently as well in a transmission. I can't remember which one. And then after I was having that feeling, especially like the next day, I remember it was like after I had a purge migraine, and I went out, and I found on the street, I didn't have my phone or I would have taken a picture, a naked baby doll. It kind of reminded me of like a Cabbage Patch Kid. I don't know if that's exactly what it was, but it was like completely naked. And I was like, I feel you, doll. Like, that's how I feel right now. So there could be things showing up in your external reality as well. Yeah. There's also something about operating with loose structures, like having this idea of a loose structure, yet again, room for adaptability and surprises and shifts, but keeping yourself in that, like what I was speaking about, that grounded space. So when you do have a whirlwind experience, you know how to bring yourself back to center. Yeah, and this, I've been seeing a lot of dolphins. You could be seeing dolphins. I remember I made a transmission like maybe 6 months ago about the Hydra current. So there could be messages in there for someone. I said Hydra current. It's hydro, and it's hydroelectricity. But I heard in my head Hydra current. So interestingly, the star system of Hydra has been coming through like so strongly. So there could be like frequency currents streaming in for a lot of us via Hydra. I just did a quick search. And an overview was saying, there's traits of being highly evolved, deeply intuitive, emotionally resilient, and deep connection to emotional healing, relentless adaptability, and profound inner transformation. And I was just speaking on basically all of these things and connected through the sacral, adaptability and inner emotional healing. So working with the essence of Hydra could be really helpful for some of you if you're not already. The water snake. Speaking of water, it's interesting that the hydro electricity current is coming through. So after I had that like hypersensitivity and feeling like finding that naked doll and just like feeling that so strongly, even like I was very like sensitive to the touch, excuse me. And after integrating that a bit, I'm releasing a lot through the throat, excuse me, there was like a few days of that experience. And then I noticed like my own auric field was like, after the sensitive to the touch and the physical, it like extended out into my auric field. And I was, when like you have static electricity, it was sort of like that, but like to the next level. And I could just plus I can see my, some of you may be visual and like can see auras and orbs and stuff. I just saw a beautiful opalescent white orb come in as I'm talking about this, and I could feel in my aura, it's happening right now actually, like static electricity, but so much more intense. And I've been like seeing phosphenes are coming through. I did a transmission a while ago on phosphenes, and there are other similar categorizations of visuals that some of us experience when we're like seeing in between the layers, if you will, or seeing into like the creation codes of reality, the geometric coding. Actually, Dana the Alien, she wrote that book, Plasma. I haven't read her book, but Plasma, A New Force or something. She just made a video about this, actually, and she explained it so well. So, it just reminded me because I spoke about phosphenes so long ago. So when she talked about it recently, I was like, oh my God, I need to pay attention to this. Anyway, so the hydroelectric current. Basically, if you're not familiar, hydroelectricity or hydropower is the process of generating electricity by harnessing the energy of moving water. It is a highly reliable, renewable power source that currently supplies about 15% of the world's electricity, producing zero direct waste or greenhouse gas emissions during operation. Well, that's nice. And quantum mirror addition is something that I was just also speaking about, where I feel like those of us who are bringing our own bioelectric energy back online and clearing our own waters, like the Krystal waters, Krystal with a K, in Kelantic science, there's so many names for these living waters. 1 second. Yeah, I'll probably go deeper into this, although I've tapped into this before on Patreon, but it feels like it's ready for that next revisiting that into the next octave. So on the Ascension Glossary, crystal waters, the eternal living waters sprung forth in the first eternal creation, and to be called upon to soothe and heal the soul in the crystal heart and diamond sun body. So a lot of you could be tapping into your diamond sun templates, and the unconditional love templates have been coming through super strongly that emanate from the high heart or the thymus, and like literally the electric system within our body. There could be practices that you're engaging in and or feeling called to, like one of them is like the breath of fire, right? Like when we pump our navel and exhale out. It's, if you're not familiar, it's not recommended to do if you're menstruating, by the way. It revamps that electrical charge in the body. And with the feminine of the sacral clearing that I was just talking about collectively, when we are tapping back into those crystalline living waters within us and in the collective and the currents that are coming in, and the grids, bringing that together, you know, like the electromagnetic, there's something that I'm tapping into that feels very hydroelectric, like the clearing of the waters and the self-generated electric charge, like charging up our mitochondria. There's like this deeply interconnected phenomenon that comes to life. And I feel like those of us who are tapping into this, this surge in remembrance is pulsing through the collective. And like I was talking about that whirlwind energy, like if we don't know how to ground it, it can really turn into that like chaotic whirlwind sort of experience. And I don't say any of this to like scare anyone. I've had experiences in the past where I think I got nervous to talk about this sometimes because, you know, it may not have been taken in the way. Well, basically what I'm trying to say is the information is there for all of us, and it's up to each one of us to integrate. And if we don't, that's our choice. But it's also, you know, I used to like have this, something I'm realizing, this fear of speaking about these things because I had past experiences where I felt like I was, you know, maybe responsible. Basically what I'm trying to say is that we can all show up and share what we're experiencing, but it's up to us to actually show up for ourselves. And yeah, so that is coming through crystal clear. And I will go more into this on the Patreon overflow, by the way, but into like the crystal waters and the different emanations throughout different ideologies and names for this, because there's the Kabbalic, is that how you say that? Kabbalah perspective, and plenty of others as well. Amrita is coming through, speaking of like the golden essence. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave it here actually. But I just wanted to tap in a little bit more into the hydroelectric current, because if you're someone who is having some of these, like maybe you're actually having a lot of like why can I not remember the name right now? Static electricity experiences. If some of you are able to like tap into your own aura, you may be seeing things like change and you're like, whoa, what's going on? Like, or maybe you're like, actually some of you may be like seeing static in the air and you're like, what is going on? Yeah, it feels like there's this, the Hieros Gamos, you know, the inner union marriage of like your different layers coming into union. So sometimes there's a bit of a messy, it's actually interesting. One of my last transmissions I called a messy alchemical transmutation, because that seems to just be a part of these experiences for most of us anyway. So there could be like this messiness that's coming up for you as well. Excuse me. Yeah. Okay. Thank you. bonus, if you're still here, there is the rise of this as well. So, you know, after giving yourself the space that you need to process, balancing that with not staying too long in the, you know, the hermitage, if you will, and the wanting to just, like right now, after I recorded, it's funny, my curtain is still like drawn because I just like needed my own space. And then it's like, okay, we spend that time and then coming back out into the world in some way and pouring into ourselves in a way that like does something to make us feel good. And I actually just realized I was having this conversation yesterday with my mom where she's like really unhappy in a particular situation. And I was like, okay, like what other areas of your life could you focus on? Take the focus off of that and, you know, build up this other area so that one, the focus is off of the thing that you feel like you can't control right now. Like what can you control and what can you like feed into that's going to like expand yourself in a way that, like fulfills you instead of trying to draw out fulfillment from something that, you know, so obviously taking my own advice and sharing that because, yeah, there's something about like if one area is not populating the way you would like it to, there's something about, I actually just listened to someone, speak about this, and it reminded me that I was literally talking about this yesterday. Yeah. Nothing specific is coming up. 2 to 2 on the timer. Yeah, just like doing something that makes you like genuinely feel good. You know, there's like one version of like chasing that feeling of like something fleeting that will actually maybe leave you feeling not so good after. So there's something about like something that genuinely makes you feel good. So yeah. I'm seeing someone like slowly pull back a curtain and like the light is blinding, so you're like, oh, like I just need to go a little slow, and that's okay. All right, thanks.